this is a point where I didn't know how to deal with the social media stuff. So I was probably seeing things and being like, everyone hates me.
Yeah.
The country, like any cricket fan in England thinks I'm useless, and you got to treat your brain like the muscle, and you got to try and switch it off at times as well. Everyone automatically looks within and thinks almost, oh, what could I have done?
Welcome to Under the Surface podcast. Together with Original Penguin and Calm, the campaign against living miserably, we're on a mission to challenge the stigma surrounding mental health. Our journey takes us to an important place from our guests' lives, which has helped them navigate through tough times. Tune in as we hear from voices in music, sport and entertainment who are ready to reveal the private battles behind their public personas. Join us as we go under the surface. This podcast contains references to suicide and issues which some people may find distressing. Search Campaign Against Living Miserably for support and advice. We are on the road for this series, meeting guests in locations linked to their story. Make sure you check out the Original Penguin YouTube channel for the video. Hello, welcome back to episode 1 of season 5. Yes, we're back for another series of Under the Surface. Delighted to have this man alongside me. In 2023, he smashed England's fastest ever double century in this country with 205 of 208 against Ireland. It is the main man, Ollie Pope. Ollie, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, excited to be on the pod.
Did you like the intro? I could have gone on.
Could have gone on.
Some innings that, by the way.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I mean, Ireland obviously not probably the number one test side in the world, but it was a nice thing to do at home of cricket.
Yeah. We are here, of course, I've got to say, one of the best venues we have filmed at this podcast, at the Oval. Very special location. Tell us why this is so important to you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a Surrey player, get the pleasure of playing here every week, training here every week, and somewhere I've got some great memories playing for Surrey, playing for England, and I think, yeah, it's obviously good group of mates playing in that changing room and sell out a lot of T20s here. So I love it here. It's my favourite ground in the world. So yeah, hopefully it has some more memories.
It seems very fitting as well, because I love the fact we take this pod on the road now. When I found out we had you, I thought this is the only place we could really record this podcast, because it is your second home, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think I've had some of my favourite cricket memories out there, and yeah, it's a place that belongs close to the heart.
Love it. Okay, let's get into it. There's a lot we want to chat about. You've had an amazing career so far, still ongoing. We're going to talk about some of the deeper sides, and also I want to tap into the mindset of an elite cricketer as well. But let's start where it, I suppose, all began. What age were you when you started playing cricket? And your love came from, I suppose? I
reckon I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I was playing every sport at the time, and then I still remember I got given a Gunnermore bat by one of my dad's mates, and then I remember just hitting him in the front yard with my old man for hours on end. And I think cricket was the one sport I'd probably play throughout the year. I'd still play kind of a bit of football, bit of tennis when the seasons were right, but then cricket I'd always kept playing more and more. So without realising it was probably the love started at 7 or 8 years old.
I love that. And you're being quite modest here, because we were chatting off camera, and you played football at quite a good level at school. You're at scratch golf, I'm right in thinking, or thereabouts?
There or thereabouts.
Pro cricketer. So was it a difficult decision? Did you have the hand pick of what sport you go pro in as a young lad?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I thought I was better at tennis and probably football as well.
Did you?
But it was probably kidding myself. And for some reason, I didn't enjoy, as soon as I stepped up in football, I didn't enjoy all the training. And as soon as I stepped up in tennis, I didn't really enjoy the training with that. But then when I stepped up in cricket, I loved the training on that side. So I think it was pretty clear that was my main love. And fortunately, I pursued it, and it's paid off.
Were you just picked one of these kids that were just picked in every team at school? You can be honest.
I was all right. I was good at sport, not much else. I've got not many academics, and I try and play a bit of music, but so it's got my talents went into sport.
My producer won't like me going off on a tangent, but do you play any musical instruments? I'm intrigued to know.
I'm still I'm trying to play guitar. Yeah, I've been last few years. I pick it up here.
Nice.
I should be a bit more motivated.
I like that. We'll get it back to cricket. Who are your role models then? Would you say when you're playing at 7, were you also consuming cricket a lot as a fan?
Oh yeah, I think I don't know what year it would have been. Probably the 2005 Ashes was my first memory of it. So I don't know how long ago was that.
20 years, yeah.
So yeah, around that kind of age, and seeing, I guess, Flintoff and
yeah.
Kevin Peterson, Matthew Hoggard swinging him around, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. That's my first memory. So those guys were probably my heroes at the start, and then weirdly had a few Aussies which I loved as well. I love watching Michael Clark bat. I loved Adam Gilchrist when he was keeping. So yeah, I was a wicketkeeper back then. So those guys were one of my favourite players growing up.
I like that. And tell us a bit about your family upbringing and your sort of relationship with your parents growing up.
Yeah, real close. We're a pretty close family. Fortunate to have two both my parents still with me, which is great. And no, they've been great from a cricket point of view, but also not a non-cricket point of view as well. They support me, but they never push me too much, and think, which has kind of paid off probably more so as the years have gone on. So no, I try to get back home. I always after a long tour, I always fly straight home and see them straight after, rather than going to my place in London. It's always go see them, and my dog's down there as well, which helps. So no, I'm very close to my parents, which is great.
How important is that? Because we've had a lot of professional sports athletes, elite level athletes on this podcast, and one of the sort of themes that is very common is that support network and how that can actually shape you. Obviously, you've got an amazing ability, but how important is that in terms of your career journey to have a stable environment and have that support network that you can talk about, not just when things are going well, but actually when things are going the other way as well?
Yeah, I think it's a fine balance when you're growing up and now as well.
Yeah.
I think I see some guys who their parents are almost like their coaches. But then I see growing up playing until you're 12 years old, and if one of my mates didn't get runs, he might have to walk home from the ground every day. And I was like, really?
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I hated it at the time. Like, I was like, what are you doing? It's bad enough when you don't get runs. But no, fortunately, my parents, like I said, they've supported me, and they always really want me to do well, and they probably hide it from me and hide the kind of ups and downs, because I think they ride it as well now, especially. But I think the main thing for them is just the calmness around it for me now. But then, like I said, back in the day when I was growing up, I just needed someone to take me to training, ideally, and fortunately, that's what I got.
Really important as well, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
the logistical side of it. Can you drive me here, drive me there? Was there a lot of that going on?
Yeah, 100%. And I remember, actually, weirdly, it was with football. I think I was doing some Chelsea training when we had to drive over the Hog's Back, and I know. And I was, after about 4 or 5 weeks, I said to Mum, I was like, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna have to quit this because I'm hating it.
Really?
And she said, and I was only doing it because I thought that's what she wanted. And she's like, thank God for that. But I've never had that with cricket, and fortunately, my Mum's generally was driving me around probably more so, and
I love that.
Yeah.
Nice. What age were you when you sort of knew that you had a bit in your locker? Because obviously we've established you had a passion for cricket, but there's thousands of us that had passions for cricket, football, that it never materialised. It's very difficult to make it to the level you've made it. Was there a moment or an age where you thought, oh, I've got a chance here?
I was pretty small till 15, 16, and I'm not the biggest now.
Same, I was,
yeah. So I was like, I knew I was okay, decent, but I wasn't overly like I wasn't the best in the team for sure. I couldn't really hit the ball too far, and I think I got to 17 and I played an innings against, I think it was Hampshire, got 120 odd, and then I was like, okay, right, I'm actually all right now. I can actually hit the ball over the boundary, and then Neil Stewart is Alex Stewart, who's the boss at Surrey and obviously England legend. And he was kind of doing some one-on-one coaches with me, and he would say the odd thing, being like, I think you could play for England one day. And it was probably the first time I'd heard that. And
how key is that when you actually hear that as a 17-year-old?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're not standing out as the best one in your team at the time, you're thinking, hopefully I can make it as a pro. Yeah. But I think hearing it can give you a real boost and a real, like, the confidence and kind of inspire you to do that extra bit of work. If someone he's a fantastic cricket coach, and if he saw something like that, then I was like, okay, right, if he sees it, I must be better than I actually am. So I think at that age it's great something like that keeps you really motivated. And so 17, 18 sort of stepped up a little bit.
It's good advice there, because I suppose wrongly assumed that you would just be head and shoulders best in school county teams, but it's a good advice for people that might be trying to follow in your footsteps. Your career path can vary. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to have a career because you are the best player. Like, you've almost done it the harder way, so to speak, and had to work on that. And I suppose that's great advice for some people that might have that self-doubt in their ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously, growth is a massive thing. In cricket and football, in any sport you play, I think if you don't get sort of bigger until you're 16, then it's going to be hard to fill into the boots that you got and kind of live up to the talent that you could have. So I think that's an important thing as well. The best players for us at 10, 11 aren't really playing any cricket now, whereas best guys when they're 16, 17, that's when the guys who have really kicked on, especially here at Surrey as well.
Yeah. So that was the age when you sort of knew you had a bit. Did you then? I read something that your parents wanted you to go to university. Is that fair? But did your career take you you couldn't do that because of the stage your career was at, or did you actually want to go?
No, I wasn't fussed. And to be fair, they were supportive of it, and it was new to them, the professional sport world as well. So it was their first time, obviously, having to think about it. And so I applied for uni, applied to go to Loughborough only because it was the best.
I went to Loughborough, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
And it was the best
National Cricket Academy's there.
Yeah. So I thought that might be a good way. So, but fortunately, it was taken off my hands, got offered a contract here at Surrey pretty soon after school, and never really thought about saying no to that. Well, actually didn't even, would never think about saying no to that. So, I guess some guys have to go to uni and keep trying to make it while at uni. But fortunately for me, signed nice and early and gave me a good head start and a good leapfrog, I think.
I saw you smile when you said that. What was that moment like? Take me back to that moment. About 18 years of age would you have been when you signed your first professional contract? Like, what was the emotion that you were experiencing there?
Oh, yeah, just buzzing. I think I was on a golf course with, I was actually playing a game with my old man. And I was just after I was playing for England under 19s and just hit I think 89 on TV against Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, the Surrey team, the main team, had just finished a game, were having a few beers, flicked it on the screen, and their head coach, Michael Divanita at the time, saw me batting in that game and was like, no, we need to get him in. So I ended up playing in the first team the week after. So I was like, this is class. So no, I remember the feeling, and it was class. And I think Alex Stewart's always keeps you level. He's a great role model. But the first feeling when you sign it is an amazing feeling. And it's then you just want to sign more after.
Yeah, I can see you smile just thinking back to that. What the flip side of that coin then? What are the biggest challenges to signing so young? And sort of, I look at your career a little bit like bursting onto the scene. You played for England very young. You made it quite young. What were the hard aspects of that, or are you just in a place in your career where you're just loving being out there?
Yeah, I think signing a first professional contract, there's probably. For that, there's only motivation to go get in the first team. Right. And then you've got your motivation to get into the England stuff. I think, for me, it was slightly different because obviously I played for England after, I think, 13 or 14 games for Surrey when I was early 20s.
Which is quite rare, that, isn't it?
Especially, I think, as a batter as well. And then got dropped quickly after 2 games, came back, had some success, and suddenly you're like, right, he's going to be the next Joe Root. He's going to do this. He's going to, and it's never about what's in the moment. And that was probably what I found the hardest.
Really?
I never thought I never wanted to. Sorry, it's hard to I never believed what they said. It's like, don't get me wrong. I believed I could go on and become a really good player, and I still want to have a good, hopefully 10 years or so playing for England. But when you're so young, I wish I kind of probably stayed in the moment a little bit more.
Really?
I think I had an amazing tour of South Africa and came back, and I was like, expected things just to keep getting better and better. And I was thinking, what could I be rather than what am I now? So, and trying to be like other batters. And I think that's all part of the journey. And I think that's the thing with Test cricket as well, is you're constantly learning. I leave every series now, and I'm fortunate enough to play for 7 years now in the test side, and after every series I still learn so much. Having just played India, there's still so much more. I was like, I wish I could have brought that
every time you play for England. You think that?
So it's the same with a lot of the guys, like even Joe Root. You can see he's developing every week in, week out after every series. So I think for me, I never thought I'd cracked it, but at the same time I probably didn't realise how hard Test cricket can be as well, with probably the outside noise and the challenges oppositions throw at you. So
you said a couple of things there that I want to pick you up on. You were saying about the outside noise you mentioned, and people saying from the outside he's going to be the next Joe Root. Do you feel there is an issue, and I suppose it's not just in cricket but in wider sports? You see it with football. When a young player bursts onto the scene, they're getting compared automatically to the best players that have ever played at a young age. Do you feel that sometimes the media and the outside noise can be too much for young players. And actually, would your advice be you just want to live in the moment and shut that off? Because can it have the reverse effect if you're not in a mentally great place at that time?
Yeah, definitely. And I think what it does, the English media anyway, they kind of try and, it feels like they set you up for failure a bit.
Do you think that's across all sports?
It certainly looks like it, definitely. I mean, see it in football, probably see it in rugby. I don't know if it's an English thing but that's what I certainly look back on, and it's like you kind of just want to run your race a little bit. But of course, there's going to be hype when there's a new young player coming into any international side. But that's probably, certainly didn't help me. But at the same time, it's never got me too down. But now I deal with it a lot better, kind of try and stay off my socials because there's nothing's going to help me go out and score 100. But if you do see stuff you don't like, not necessarily people just abusing you, but more so articles and that kind of thing, it's never going to get you in a better headspace than you need to be, especially cricket being a game that obviously Test cricket 5 days. If you're letting things get you down in the evening, that's going to affect how you wake up, and you got 5 days of that. It's different, I guess, in other sports as well. When you got this 90 minutes, 80 minutes for cricket, you got to kind of keep on a good level for the full 5 days.
I want to pick you up on that point about social media. Then is trolling an issue then within cricket as we see in other sports? Is that something you get after you don't have many bad games, but if you do have a bad game, do you see that, and does that affect you?
Oh, absolutely, you see it. And I think if you do see it, it's hard to not let it affect you a little bit, but it's never affected me to the point at which, like, I don't think it's never really affected me to the point where, like, I don't want to go outside today, I don't want to do this today. But, of course, it's got me down over periods of time. I think I can think of probably numerous examples where I think it's when it starts affecting your relationships with your family and your friends. And I know I'm pretty shut off. Once a big series starts, I'm pretty shut off because I feel like you can only deal with so much. So I'll chat to my mates here and there during a Test series. It's obviously 8 weeks, so there's a time and a place for it. But then I think, when the trolls and the media do really get to you, that's when I find, like, in the past I've probably become a little bit shut off, and that should be the time where I kind of lean on the closest to me a little bit more, because at the end of the day, I think whenever I do have a break from cricket, and whenever you do get 3 or 4 weeks off, which I've got now, is kind of when you realise, why do I care about that stuff? I'm gonna retire come, I don't know, hopefully as close to 40 as I can, and look back, and I'm not going to be thinking, I wish he hadn't said that, I wish he hadn't said that. Yeah. So that's always a good reminder for me now, is like, yes, they're out there, but it's not, it doesn't last forever, and I just try and not let it affect my game now, because I'll regret it if that was something to get me down. So for me, like I said, try and avoid it where I can, try and just get off my socials before a big Test match, and then just hop on it after if you want. So
it's good advice, that. It's obviously a physical sport, and you've got there because of your physical ability. You've come through trials, you've had coaches and all that. But how big is the mental aspect of being an elite level cricketer when you're out there? We were chatting off camera about how long some of your biggest innings have been, and how big is the mental aspect to being an England cricketer, would you say?
Yeah, I think I don't think you can become an England cricketer if you're not sort of mentally
really
tough or mentally kind of consistent with it. Of course, a certain amount of talent, I think, obviously you need. You need to be able to deal with guys bowling 90 mile an hour and that kind of thing. But then you could be the best player in the world, but if you don't have a level of sort of mental strength and that kind of thing, then it's never going to work out. So I think cricket I talk a lot about kind of trying to be a goldfish as much as you can. You kind of learn from your mistakes as a batter as well. You learn from your mistakes. What can I take from that? And then try and not take it into the next innings. So that's probably the hardest thing. As a batter, you can prepare for a game for 2 weeks, and you could get the perfect ball at 90 mile an hour that nips the perfect amount. You could technically make no mistake, and it just touches your edge and you're out. And another day you might get a bit of bad luck, and another day you might play a bad shot because you're not 100% on it. And So I think it's trying to just be at peace and then learn and move on to the next one as best as you can. Like I said, it's trying to eliminate the sort of mistakes that you make, and how can you do that mentally? And then every now and again you can be like, that was a ball that's going to get me out 9 times out of 10. You just got to hope you're on a few runs before you actually do it. But yeah, it's just a sport where, I mean, you could play 5 days and get no runs, and you feel like, but then you got to realize, right, next week's your week.
Yeah.
Although it's a team sport, there are individual aspects to it as well.
It's fascinating hearing about the mindset, and you're talking about just sort of amalgamating your last 2 answers with the trolling and how you shut that off, and then also being out on the crease and the mindset. With that said, have you ever had teammates or seen players where they have had bad trolling or issues outside of the pitch, and that has affected their performance? Is that how strong the mental aspect of the game can be?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've seen guys kind of walk off the pitch and on the bus back, like looking on Twitter, and then you
straight away.
Yeah, and it's just like, because people are curious, especially when you're starting out. You're young and curious. So I guess for me, it's like when I come back to Surrey, and there's going to be guys who 20-year-olds now who are going to be playing for England, hopefully, in over the few years. So that's always something that I'd tell them, is just try and just stay off it. Although when you get in, you're like, I just want to read stuff. This is great. I'm in the papers. Everyone's like, this is the best thing. But then that comes shooting back down pretty quick, I think, unless you go and just kill it for a certain amount of time. So I think the best.
Said and done that, though. That must be easier to do than actually implement, because I imagine if your young player's had a great game, you then want to look at that, and obviously if it doesn't go the way you want the next game, you're just used. It becomes a tradition to be logging onto social media.
100%. But then I think okay, great, if you do look at it when you do well, so be it, but just try and just keep it off, because like I said, I've seen it affect people. I've seen kind of the worst side of it for guys starting in their England career, and my first 6 months in it, I only played a few games, but I was struggling with it because everyone's trying to judge the new guy in the changing room. So that's the thing I'd say is, and that comes through experience as well, like I said.
You mentioned experience. I want to take you back to the first time you stepped out for England. What is that moment like, the roar of the crowd, stepping out for England?
Yeah, I think being so young, I mean, I was so buzzing. I couldn't wait. I think Alistair Cook had got out. And I was like, right, number 4.
Why are you smiling? You got out, you're in there.
No. It sounds bad. I was so nervous watching. But I was like, and then every now and again it pops up, and I was like, the size of me, I like so skinny, and I look like a 14-year-old. But I just remember like hearing the kind of roar and the people of Lords. When someone makes your debut, they really want you to do well. And it was such a cool feeling. And of course I was nervous, but got off the mark, I think, second ball, and I was like, okay, right, that's the main thing. I've got an England run now, so now I can start.
It's interesting you say that. Do you look at in terms of the aims and ambitions, is it make my debut for England, make my first run, get my first century, called up to an Ashes? Do you look at that as increments as to what is achievable?
Yeah, I think
Was the first run, a huge moment because you've scored a run for England? So even if nothing else happens, that's still a massive moment for you.
Yeah, and I think just in case you do become a one test wonder, as they say, you don't want to be the guy who's got 0 runs. But you still got your England cap as well, though. So I mean, definitely the first thing's to make your debut. Then it's to try and score your first 100. Then I think once you kind of tick those 2 boxes, I think as a batter, then your test career can really start, and you can. You kind of know what it's about and that kind of thing. But yeah, the feeling after, I think I clipped one in swinger of Ishant Sharma and clipped one for 4 on the leg side, and I was like, right, it was a great roar. And then I was like, okay, I can start now. And I only got 28 that game, but we won the test easily against India, and it was class. Yeah, it was probably still my favourite ever week in a shirt, even though I've had better weeks. Wow. It was just, I remember like standing in the slips to Jimmy, and I was like, this is unreal. And so it's I think the whole week itself was like incredibly special.
Do you know what's amazing about that is I've spoken to so many sports men and women across different sports who've achieved so much, and so many of them say their proudest moment is their debut for their country. It
doesn't surprise me. I think it's such a cool thing, and then you kind of lose sight of it at times in your career, but I'm sure I'll look back and after my career, and it will still be my most special moment. Receiving it, I got my cap from Alex Stewart,
Yeah, amazing.
which was even better. So no, it was a cool moment.
And you mentioned your first century as well. 135, I'm right, not out. Is that a moment when you get your first century for England? Does that almost take you to a different level as a batter? In that you're talking about the wider media, social media, in terms of how people look at you. Do you really feel at that moment, I can compete at this level with the very best in the world?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Especially, we were playing against South Africa, Port Elizabeth, and they had Rabada, Philander, and Nortje, and Maharaj. So they had a really good attack, and so for me, that was like a massive stepping stone. And okay, right, that shows me I got the skill to go and do it. Now it's just about kind of implementing it over a long period of time. But now that was, I think, as a batter, the first one's massive. I think in Test cricket, especially. Of course, you can contribute with your 80s, your 70s, but there's something about the first one which kind of means, I think, shows you can really do it and kick on and go from there. So that was an incredible. I remember the feeling after. I mean, that was different, obviously, to getting your Test cap, but that feeling, I clipped one through mid-wicket, and it was like, oh, this is the best thing.
Is it the hardest as well to get the first?
I think so, but I just kept on playing shots when I got near it, and everything kept coming off the middle, and I was like, So the feeling when it came off the bat, and it's still the same now. I think you still get so nervous, and it's a feeling you just want to bottle up for forever. And although it's so annoying because you kind of take your helmet off, you got the whole crowd supporting you. You kind of see 100 on the board, and then next ball, and then so it is just something you just want to bottle up and. Yeah, even now, when you do get them, it's like, this is class. I don't want this moment to end. But that first one was, felt like nothing like it. It's kind of like, right, I've been through this. I know how it feels. Like my career's definitely not been all on the upwards spiral. I've definitely had my great days and I've had my bad days, and everyone's kind of had their ups and downs. So
that's powerful. Who was there for you in the tougher days then? Was there a certain England player, coach that was really good for you during those tough days?
I mean, Joe's always kind of had his door open to chat to, and I think he was captain probably in my tougher days, so it was probably a little harder for him because he had the obviously external pressures of being captain.
Why was that tougher, just out of interest? Because he had so much else to deal with?
So much else to deal with. So I think Stokes has always been someone before he was captain who really had my back in tough Ashes times, and so he was great. And even, I think we might touch on him later, but even I remember Graham Thorpe chatting to him from more of a personal side of things. I mean, he's our batting coach at the time, but for me, it was like, I was like, something that always stuck with me was he said, never make yourself, and this to do with the trolls as well, never allow the cricketer to dictate the bloke you are.
Wow. And
that's kind of what I needed to hear at the time as well, because I was like, cricket's not going, I'm not scoring as many runs as I want at the minute, and this is a point where I didn't know how to deal with the social media stuff, so I was probably seeing things and being like, everyone hates me. The country, like any cricket fan in England thinks I'm useless, and so and I was like, I know I wasn't scoring runs, but I felt like I was very disliked in the country. And so for him to say that at the time, and that was me overthinking the whole thing, but for him to say that at the time, and it will always stick with me. That I had some great chats with him over the years, but that was always it was like he saw what he would have felt a lot of for parts of his career, and so it was nice of him to kind of pull me up. It was just over a beer after a game, and so there was small things like that.
Yeah, we definitely, you're right, we'll go on to talk about him and everything that happened. I think it brings us nicely onto this aspect of the pod. Obviously, you've had an amazing career, but we do like to delve into some of the other sides to help people that might be struggling with certain things on this podcast. You have had some quite big setbacks. I think back to the recent Ashes series, which was the second test. That ultimately the injury ruled you out for the entire Ashes series, which was a huge story at the time and a very close Ashes series. For you personally, going through that in such a huge Ashes series, how difficult a moment was that in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually, that was the third of my shoulder surgeries, but that was the one that came probably obviously at the worst time possible. I think something we were looking forward to that as a team for a year and a half, 2 years, and we kind of finally felt, right, this is our chance. So, for me at the time, it was just like, all this work in. This is what it's all about. And then I did it on day one of the second test. So I ended up batting, but obviously kind of limited with my shoulder for the rest of that game. But yeah, it's just, I actually dealt with it because I'd done it twice before. I dealt with it okay. I just really struggled when the test series was going on because I felt like I couldn't do anything with my life because I was like, I'm so invested in this series. So I'd end up just sitting on my sofa all day, every day for 5 days. Well, 5 days on the spin for the test match, and just because I couldn't take my eyes off the series because I wanted us to win so bad.
It's an amazing series, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was a class series. So I actually, from a sort of mental point of view, dealt with that fine. I think it's just once the rehab starts, and it was like, okay, this is the third time doing probably best part of 6 months out. Learning how to do that again up a wall. But I think unfortunately you kind of learn over the years that injuries like that are just part of sport. And
it's amazing the way you say that though, because obviously I was aware that it was the third, but my question is more the timing of that in that moment is potentially one of the worst times it could have happened, this particular injury, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But then again, like that's in terms of what I'm saying is that's just, it's nothing you can do. There's that's happened to probably a lot of other people, and that's just how it goes. Unfortunately, had a bit of bad luck, and I actually blamed Ben Duckett because I was supposed to be at slip. He had a sore hamstring. Wow. You do less running at slip, so I went next ball, dive for the ball that he was supposed to be his position, and so no, it's his
cheers
fault.
Duckett.
Yeah, cheers Duckett. Your fault. But no, I think I'm pretty good at staying level with those things. If it was something like I'd tore my hammy and something I could have maybe done something about, but I think I was just gutted at the time, but I was buzzing once the series was finished because I was like, right, I can now.
Were you once it's gone?
Yeah,
because you could actually focus on your recovery.
Can just go live my life a little bit, and I always try and see a positive. And the positive being I could, once the series was done, is switch my mind off from cricket. It's such a busy schedule that you need to take your mind away, and that's why I've kind of got 3 or 4 weeks off now, and it's just going to be I don't want to check scores. I just want to save all my energy up for what's coming up next.
It's a powerful mindset. That was there anything you were doing for your mental health during the injury? I imagine physically you were going through the rehab, physios and all that, but for your mind, for your mental health, while that series was going on, that other people who might have injuries might be watching this that helped you get through it. Yeah,
I think for me, is just trying to find other hobbies. I think as soon as I could, like I said, that was when I started trying to play guitar. As soon as I could with my right shoulder.
I was going to say, it must be quite difficult with one hand.
Yeah, as soon as I could get to a level where I could play. So for me, it was just hobbies, trying to limit the amount of time I spent on the sofa. And I mean, they're cliche things, on the sofa and just in front of a screen. I mean, the odd bit of TV's no harm, but for me, that's what makes me feel good if I'm kind of lounging around all day. And I think the hardest thing at the time is getting the motivation to do all your rehab. It was kind of 6 days a week, and I'm there, and it was in the winter a lot of it as well. And it's just, but it's kind of having the discipline. The motivation for it was low, but the discipline of it was pretty good. So I think from that side of things, that kept me going. But yeah, just finding other hobbies. Well, so, I mean, I've got a dog, so that was great because I just go on long walks with him, and what else would I be doing? Not loads. Guitar, and just having the dog were probably the two best things for me.
That's nice, and it's important to have things that are outside of cricket as well, because I imagine you can't be watching, talking, playing cricket 24/7. But those other hobbies keep you grounded, I presume. Yeah,
absolutely, and I think we get a lot of criticism for playing as much golf as we do as a side on social media. People,
you're not bad at golf. We've established that, haven't you?
Yeah. But I don't. I mean, I love playing golf, but golf is what keeps me probably a large thing that keeps me happy away from cricket and takes my mind away from it. I mean, in that India series, I try and play golf before every test match.
Do you?
Personally, yeah. And there's a few that do the same because it's either that or I go chill in my room we'll be back from training at 12:30, and if you're in a city but you kind of you're in your hotel room, you end
don't
up
go sightseeing, you're
spending the whole afternoon in your room, and then naturally you just think too much about the game. So I'm like, what's going to happen my first ball tomorrow? What's if I can just go play golf and take my mind, immerse myself in something else other than cricket, that helps me the next day.
We haven't spoken about the concentration aspect as well of what you do. Because if you look at, there's a lot of elite level sports where you have to be completely focused, but for a lot shorter period of time.
Yeah.
We were discussing previously how long you've batted. I mean, you've had innings where you've been out there for 5-6 hours. How key is that to stay concentrated, often in hot environments with a helmet on? You know, is that a big challenge with being a batter at test level as well, to be on it for 5 hours?
Yeah, definitely is. I think each batter has different ways of dealing with it. Some innings I find I'm out there and I have to use every ounce of sort of my focus to make sure, if it's tough and you're trying to kind of get through something. But then again, there are other days where you're like, I'm finding this way less mentally taxing and everything's kind of clicking and I'm playing nicely. So for me, I mean, I look outside here, I play a lot of stuff here and I'll bat out there. When I'm off strike, I'll be looking up at that building up there and being like, wonder what's happening in that room. And
Really?
because if you do bat for 6, 7, 8 hours, then you're mentally going to be knackered. So you've got to find ways of just switching off while you're out there. Obviously, when you're standing there facing the ball, you're zoned in and you're focused. But when you're stood at the non-strikers end, just kind of chilling, it's like, right, that's you got to stay on because you don't want to run out your partner or like say no. But there, I just try and like just think of something really random, and that helps me. It's like your brain's your muscle, and you got to kind of let your muscle chill for a few minutes while you're out there. So that's as I see it.
I mean, talk about helping you, and you've mentioned this individual previously about how much he helped you, Graham Thorpe. Obviously, it was so tragic what happened, and it's still fairly recently. I just wondered if you're happy to talk about this, your reaction when you heard that news, because it was so tragic and so sudden, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I think it's no one... I guess we got told over Zoom, and it was everyone who's on the tour previously, and it was like, whoa. And then it was obviously not very emotional over Zoom because you're just on your own. So I think it was, everyone automatically looks within and thinks almost, what could I have done? I was out on that tour, and then every now and again I almost just flicked through old WhatsApps, and then
really?
And I saw and it came out. I know his wife had sort of spoken in the media recently and said how much that Australia thing kind of hurt him and took out of him, and so I mean, everyone, if you're on that tour, you think, what could I have done to help him? And it's obviously just the sad realities of how other people deal with those environments at times. And I think the COVID bubbles were shocking for that whole situation, and being locked in your room and not being allowed out for 14 days is just it's just not a healthy way of living your life. I mean, everyone here sort of, it still does hurt everyone here. Saw the tributes here at the Oval during the India test. Think what Joe Root did with a headband when he got his 100, just things like that, just shows how much he meant to everyone in the changing room, and everyone I guess just wishes there was something they could have almost helped with at the time, but sadly there wasn't.
And all those tributes must be very emotional for you as well, because it is such a tragic story. Do you get filled with emotion when you play and when you talking about him now, I'm guessing? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think everyone, you see what amazing things everyone talks about as can happen when someone passes away. You always see that those real positives in a person, and him as a cricketer and him as a bloke, I think was just phenomenal. So when you do see it, obviously it does make you emotional, and it kind of feel for the family and that kind of thing as well. And it's something that you kind of want to just realize how you want to check in on your mates, how you want to stay as tight as you possibly can, especially with us in the changing room. We're about to go to Australia, go have one of the probably toughest tours. I mean, mentally there's going to be a lot of pressure on us, a lot of admin. So for us, it's about how can we kind of block out that. There's going to be the online abuse if things don't go well. There's going to be the that kind of thing. So it's like, how do you manage that? And it's obviously something we wish we could have managed better and helped him more as well.
It's powerful when you say that about talking as well, because we cover so many different areas on this podcast, but one theme that always is like an underlying theme is the need to talk when people are going through. And I suppose when an event like that happens, it does make you think that you don't really know what anyone's going through unless you do talk to them. How big is that? And you talk so confidently as an experienced player, as a vice captain now, that you are chatting to people about maybe nothing to do with cricket, but in the changing room you're saying, are you okay? And having those conversations. Do they happen in cricket?
They do, and I think it's probably something that can keep getting better. I think with the environment we've got at the minute, it's a really healthy one. It feels like, of course, everyone's got their different struggles away from it, but it feels like it's an environment where if someone is noticeably off, then you do someone's going to be the one to kind of check up on him. But at the same time, we also try and deal with the cricket side of things and the things we've spoken about. We talk about how we do deal with that and how we do manage that, whether that be with a coach. But I guess if people have got external stuff going on outside of the room, outside of the changing room, then that's something that you try and stay aware on as well. And I think the support's always going to be there, and it's almost important to make sure you're there for your mate as much as you can be, and then you'll probably get that back in return. But of course, everyone's got their... And in the cricket environment, look, we're about to go to Australia. I think it's might be like a 10-week tour. So you're going to see everyone for every day pretty much. And it's going to be... You're going to quickly pick up if someone's not right. So it's making sure that you're the one to kind of go, right, checking in with your mates at times, and hopefully they'll do the same for you.
It's great to hear. Do you have that psychological support? Because you mentioned the tour there, and you've covered everything that you have to be switched on with physically and mentally. You've talked about trolling, you've talked about social media, we've talked about the challenging aspects of the sport, injuries as well, which was sadly a part of the game. Do you have, as well as the masseuse and the physios, do you have psychological support or counsellors that are on tour? Do you have access to that? Is that something that's come into the game recently?
There's not always on tour, but there's always access to it, whether that be with England or with Surrey here for me. So I know who I'd call in England, and then Surrey as well. And sometimes it's quite nice to have someone outside of the environment that you do want to leave as well. Yeah, because everyone inside the environment is kind of going through the same emotions of the cricket as well. So it's nice to kind of just get someone who's got a fresh perspective and someone you can kind of touch base with and knows you away from the England environment, as well as just you as a bloke rather than just you as a cricketer.
Is that something you've done, Ollie? Have you ever had therapy or spoken to people outside of cricket to talk about the challenging aspects?
I've never kind of had therapy or that kind of thing, but I've had the psychologists here that are used at Surrey who I've got a good relationship with and spoken through things. But for me, to be honest, I feel like over time I've always dealt with things okay. There's definitely been times where I've struggled more than others, and I think probably my family and my girlfriend would probably see that a lot more than any cricketers. But there've always been things that I've managed to quickly go back to the things that I know make me happy, and I've managed to kind of get out of them fairly quickly. So yeah, from that side. And then I kind of generally use the sports mindset as the performance side of things, to be honest. How can I get the best out of myself? How can I make sure I'm enjoying tour as much as I can to then go and enjoy training, to then allow myself to go and... Because I know when I'm enjoying my training, when I'm enjoying rocking up on a match day, I'm relaxed but switched on. That's when I get the best out of myself. So for me, it's just trying to make sure I get to that as much as I can.
Love that. You mentioned the Ashes. Let's talk about it. For me, it's just an amazing... It seems bigger than cricket. It's just a sporting moment that you want to be with. I mean, I'm a cricket fan, but I know people that aren't cricket fans that tune into the Ashes. Does it feel different as a player playing in this?
Yeah, 100%. I mean... my kind of Ashes experience haven't been the best ones as of yet. I went on the COVID tour when I was probably 22, maybe. Probably wasn't a good enough player. Wasn't ready to deal with everything that came with an Ashes. Was a COVID series which didn't help it.
Yeah.
Then of course the last one where I started in, got a 30, got a 40, but then dislocated my shoulder, and then so for me I feel like I've not. I mean, the last series, obviously, with the injury, I couldn't physically have an impact as I would have liked. But yeah, it's just, I feel ready for it. I feel like I'm excited for it. And I know that's kind of, again, with journalism and stuff, they go, but you're record against Australia you want to improve on. So yeah, of course I want to improve on that. Played when I was 21 and played with a broken shoulder in one test, so it's not
Two valid points there. Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I hear it, I'm a bit like, okay, yeah, I've had my 5 games against them, but I was, like I said, I was nowhere near a good enough player at the time for the first one. And so I feel like this time, I'll be prepared, as well prepared as I can be. And yeah, something I'm really, and I describe it as similar to like a big boxing fight.
Yeah, the heavyweight bout.
Everyone starts having their opinions on cricket.
Yeah,
There's so much more noise about it. Of course, you get the guys who really know it and will stay up all night, but it feels like everyone watches it. So there's a lot more, even more so, like voices and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's even more important for us as a team to stay as close as we can in the changing room and not let that outside pressure and external noise affect it, so we can go out and play our best cricket.
Does that annoy you then, or wind you up when people do talk about your previous Ashes? Because as you said, there's big circumstances on both of them there. You've mentioned that about what's been said about you. Does that annoy you that it's perhaps unfair criticism?
Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't annoy me. It is what it is. Cricket's a kind of a numbers game, so it's my numbers against them aren't good enough. But then like I said, I'm also like played 3 games.
Yeah.
I got dropped after 2 in Australia, then came back in the last, and so I own the fact that I wasn't good enough then. And yeah, the last one I played the second game with a dislocated shoulder, so I was also like, okay, right, I made a 40 with a dislocated shoulder. So no, it's something that I'm aware of. It doesn't annoy me because it's true, but at the same time, like, hopefully I can kind of, I don't know if I prove people or do whatever. I don't do things to prove people. I do things to try and do things for myself and the team. So yeah, it's something I'm just looking forward to and feel like I'm ready for.
It seems like you have a real fire in your belly for this series, like with everything that's happened in the previous Ashes series. Is that a fair comment? It feels like this is your series and you cannot wait to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think mainly because I know how to just deal with it better.
Yeah.
And it's something that, the last Ashes series away was one of the worst feelings ever. I remember walking off the pitch being like, I wasn't sure if I'd play again for England. So
Really?
I'm grateful.
I thought you might never play for England after that.
Well, I thought there'd be a chance, and I was dropped from the team after that, but I was still in the squad, fortunately. And then, fortunately, Brendan and Ben Stokes picked me. So I wasn't 100%.
Yeah.
So all I'll do is try and just give myself the best chance to succeed, and I know what I need to do that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, of course, you get that extra fire in your belly, but cricket's a funny game. Like, almost if you do want it too much sometimes, like if you go, I need to score today, that's when you kind of tense up and you don't play your best stuff. So I know what works well for me on my best day. So that's what I need to try and do for 5 test matches, hopefully.
And how'd you look into it in terms of the squad, the group of players? Like, how'd you rate England's chances?
Good, yeah, good. I think we've hopefully got our pace bowlers stay nice and fit before then, and as a batting unit, it feels like we're in a good place, as good a place as we have been since I've been in the team anyway. So, I feel like we got a good chance. I think technically they're number 1 in the world, I think, on the rankings, and they've got a fantastic seam attack, but hopefully we can kind of put them under a bit of pressure and get on top of them.
Cannot wait. And you talk about the culture as well. You've mentioned that a few times. It seems like there's a very strong culture amongst this group at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of feels like the touring party's 15, 16, 17 guys probably as players, and there's not a bloke in there that doesn't have their kind of good spot in the team, if that makes sense, socially. And everyone gets on with everyone. I know it's a cliche, but there's no tricky characters in that team. It's just everyone. You could just chuck everyone in a room and you'll have a good time together. So yeah, I think that's an important part of it. And just the way we do tour in the past, everyone knows we do play a little bit of golf, but that's good for us as a team. That's kind of what helps us, especially when you land somewhere. It kind of helps us just to get together tighter as a unit. It's not just about playing golf because it's something to do. It kind of brings the banter together, and then we'll do other things as well as a team to try. And there's obviously guys who don't play golf too. So
what do they do?
Different things. I don't know. They seem like a lot of them are the guys that are pretty happy with doing that.
Yeah.
For example, like Gus Atkinson. I mean, he just does nothing. He goes,
Really?
yeah, goes and has a sauna and then he likes going out for dinner and stuff.
Does he?
But I was like, how do you not? Yeah, so no.
Each their own, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever
But-
get on the golf course, then you see, there's the Australian team who are about to play, or you bump into the opposition while you're in the golf
we
course?
normally, well, to be fair, because if it's like day before, a few days out,
Yeah.
they will have training in the morning, they'll have training in the afternoon, so it's like
You cross over, yeah.
So, but it has happened in the past.
Yeah. Is that a big part of it as well, from a mental health aspect, that the downtime when you're not training and not playing golf to keep yourself switched on? Because it's a long tour, isn't it? And,
Yeah.
And to try and keep yourself switched on.
Yeah. I mean, that's the balance is, especially with cricket, like I kind of said before, is you do want to, you're always switched on when you're at the game, but it's almost like you got to treat your brain like the muscle and you got to try and switch it off at times as well. So that's what you see with maybe subcontinent tours more, because you're less like there's more strict rules as to you can't really go out of the hotel, you can't do this or that. So it's trying to make sure you find ways of keeping yourself sort of mentally fresh. I think you stay switched on, but you need to keep, you don't want to think too much about cricket is what I find anyway. It's like, right, I need to have my days where I'm like, right, I'm going to try and then of course when you're on. And then, so yeah, it's always a fine balance between the two.
Let's reflect on your amazing career so far. I know you spoke about the debut. If we had to pick a highlight, one moment for your career, county or internationally, would it be your debut, or is there another moment that you'd pick as your proudest moment so far?
I think that'd be my proudest. I've done a couple of things where I'm like, right, that's my best thing I've done, but my proudest, I think, will always be my test cap. Yeah.
And a couple of the hundreds would be in terms of best things.
Yeah, my one in India, I got 196 in Hyderabad, and I think from a skill point of view and game situation, that will be. I'd like to top it one day.
Yeah.
But that's certainly the best I've done.
And goals going forward, future ambitions. Do you set yourself targets, or is it?
No, I try not to. Of course, you kind of go, I know if I average 40 in this series, that'd be pretty good, or make 200. But I try and not do that too much. So for me, I mean, obviously, win the Ashes is the clear one. So, but then
Was that the number one goal?
Yeah, for the next few years anyway, 100%. I think winning an away Ashes would be as good as anything in an England shirt. So if I could choose one thing for the next year easily, next 5 years, it'd probably be win this Ashes.
I'm getting excited just thinking about it. I'm not playing, so it must just be on a different level for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, it should be class. No, I'm excited.
And in terms of biggest challenges, I think you've been very honest and open talking about like some of the injuries. Would it be the injuries? Have those been just reflecting on your career? Would they been the biggest challenges that you faced so far, would you say?
Injuries and kind of probably bouncing back from at the time, I'd say a lot of like pressure on my spot and putting in good performances at the right time. So coming back from the injuries and those two are probably things where I'm like proud of myself for how I dealt with that situation and showed the mental strength to kind of get through and manage to put my best foot forward.
And a light-hearted one for me. If you do bring the Ashes home, who's the biggest laugh on a night out and a celebratory tour win? Is there one of your teammates you go, yeah, do you know what? He takes that.
Well, there's a few. I mean, a lot of the boys are a good laugh.
Yeah, it does seem like a good night out. That.
Yeah, you know what? I'd have Joe Root would be the best value. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, he's good because. Yeah, no, I wouldn't go in too much, but
he can't tell the stories. Just
he's good. He's good fun. Yeah,
and he can back it up as well. It's a good answer to that because he backs it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair play. And just finally, we end the pod always talking about this. As I say, I think you've been so honest and open. Just what advice you'd have? A lot of people do listen to this pod that might be struggling with certain things related to sport or completely unrelated to sport. Just what advice you'd have for people that might be watching this that might be struggling?
Yeah, I think talk to your mates and. If it's related to sport, then for me it's just remember you don't need to keep everyone happy, and if it's not, just trying to keep your closest relationships as close as you can and keep talking to them about it, because at the end of the day, after the struggles are done, that's probably who's going to be closest to you and means the most to you.
Great point, great advice. Ollie, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Nice one.
Let's hope you bring it home.
I hope so.
And I'll see you soon.
Cheers.